Hola chicos, bienvenidos a otra lección. Today we are going to be talking about direct and indirect object pronouns, or in español, el uso de los complementos de directos e indirectos. Now it's assumed that at this point you already have a basic understanding of these object pronouns. Today what we're going to be working with is blending the two of them together, using them both at the same time. I will do a quick review of how they work and stuff, so if you don't remember it from earlier classes of Spanish, you'll get a brief review, but we're going to focus on blending them, using them together in the same sentences. Okay, first off, indirect object pronouns. These are the same things you guys learned at the very beginning of Spanish 1. Me gusta, te gusta, le gusta. In fact, I'm going to, instead of recreating it here, I'm just going to show you a clip from a previous video I made, so we'll just go to that now.
Okay, so let's talk about indirect object pronouns. We'll do a whole nother podcast on these, but just briefly here, real quick overview. As the name insinuates, an indirect object receives the action of the verb indirectly. So if a verb does an action, it's what's receiving that action indirectly. What this means is that the indirect object in the sentence indicates the to or for whom the action is completed. In the sentence, Matt gives the book to John. Matt gives the book to John. Matt is the subject. He is the one performing the action of the verb, to give. The book is the direct object. It is directly receiving the action of the verb. Okay. John, though, is the indirect object because he indirectly receives the action of the verb. The book is given, but given to John. So we have, if I don't have you confused too much yet, Matt gives the book, so there's our main thing, but John is sort of this third party thing. It's being given to John. He's indirectly receiving the giving. John is a noun, so in this sentence, John is the indirect object, noun. When we replace to John with to him, the indirect object noun becomes an indirect object pronoun. Remember, a pronoun is a word that replaces a noun. So instead of saying gives the book to John, indirect object noun, now we say gives the book to him, indirect object pronoun.
Okay, let's move on to direct object pronouns. Okay, using that example that you just had in the video, Matt gave the book to John. We talked about this, the indirect object pronoun, but we didn't talk in that little review about the direct object. Okay, the verb here, to give, Matt gave. Okay, we have our subject pronoun and our verb, Matt gave. But what did he give? What is directly receiving the action of the verb? Now I know that that's grammar talk to say what is directly receiving the action of the verb, but when we see the verb, what we do is we say what is being given, and that's how we know what the direct object is, what's directly receiving the action. So the book is what's being given. Now if I want to change it from a direct object noun, the book, to a direct object pronoun, it, we have two options. In Spanish, there will either be lo or la. Well, obviously, the book, in Spanish, el libro, is masculine, and so it's going to be lo. Okay, lo is our direct object pronoun. Okay, if it were the books, if we want to say them, it would be los or las. Matt gave them to John, it would be los or las. Again, because it's masculine, it's going to be los. Matt gave them to John. Matt los dio a Juan. Okay, and these follow the same observation, the same rule as the indirect object pronouns, and that is that they go before the conjugated verb in most cases. Or connected to an infinitive. Let's look at all of the direct object pronouns. Okay, we have me, me, te, you. For example, él me conoce, he knows me. No te conozco, I don't know you. Yo lo conozco, I know him. Yo la conozco, I know her. Who is being known? What is being known? They are direct objects. Me, te, lo. He knows us. Él nos conoce. If you're in Spain, you could use the os. Os conocemos. We know you guys, or actually, I guess it would be os conocemos. In Spain, we got to get that ceseo in there, that C. Don't call it a lisp, it's a ceseo. Anyway, let's go to los and las. Yo los conozco, I know them. Yo las conozco, I know them, the girls. So that's a quick review of what our direct object pronouns are. It's not the to or for, it's just the it, he, me, it, them. Not to me, for me. No, those are the indirects. Okay. Let's now do indirect and direct object pronouns together. So the teacher explained it to me. Okay. Well, let's take this piece by piece. The teacher, you could do maestro, maestra, profesor. Let's make it easy. Let's just say el profesor.
Okay, you'll notice that in English we use two words to identify the indirect
profesor.
object. In the example, those two words were to him.
Explain.
In Spanish, both words are wrapped up into one little indirect object pronoun. Le.
Yeah, we could use enseñó, something like that.
So here's a list of some indirect object pronouns in Spanish.
Lo or la. We don't really know. Let's just say lo.
Me, te, le, nos, os, les.
To me.
These indirect object pronouns, me, te, le,
me.
nos, os, les, usually go
So here's our
before a
dilemma.
conjugated
We
verb
know that we have
or
lo and me,
connected
and
to
we
an
know that the
infinitive.
object pronouns go before
Okay, there are
the
some
conjugated verb.
other instances
So I'm
like
going to go ahead and
command
put
form. This doesn't
go
apply, but generally speaking,
right here.
maybe go
So
before a
which
conjugated
do we put in the
verb
blank here? We have
or
lo,
connected to an
and we have
infinitive.
me. Or we have me, and we have lo. Okay. The indirect object pronoun goes first. And you're sitting there going, oh, trying to figure out a sentence, trying to speak quickly, and you can't come up with an indirect object pronoun directly receiving the action of the verb. Meanwhile, the guy you're talking to has walked away because he's tired of waiting for you. Or you're taking a test, and you've got 100 questions, and you only have 60 minutes, or whatever, I don't know. But the way that I remember it, the way that I remember that the indirect object pronoun comes first is because I grew up with nursery rhymes. E-I-E-I-O. And this may sound silly, and this may not work for you, but it worked for me. I always thought of Old MacDonald. I don't know why this worked for me. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but lay, so E-I-E-I-O. Lay, that's indirect. Lay, that's indirect. And then the low. So lay low. Okay, that's one way to think about it. Another way that some of my students have found helpful is the expression, if you want to lay low for a while. If you want to lay low for a while, that's the way that you remember, well, lay, low, that's the order that they go in. So lay and then low. That's the order. So our lay comes second, me lo. El profesor me lo explicó. El profesor me lo explicó. Okay? Let's go to another example. I explained it to her. Well, now it gets a little tricky. This is one of the nuances, the thing that makes using the two object pronouns together, what makes it special. Okay. Yo expliqué. I explained. I explained it to her. Okay, let's do the it, let's call it a lo. To her will be lay. Okay, and we remember that it goes the indirect first and then the direct. Yo le lo expliqué. Yo le lo expliqué, you won't hear that unless it's somebody learning Spanish that doesn't know how to speak properly. Because we don't like all those L's together. Yeah, we don't like it. What we're going to do is we're going to change that lay a little bit. Oh, rewind a little bit. Lay low, you remember that expression, lay low? Well, we're a proud Spanish-speaking people, so what we're going to do is we don't want to lay low. What we're going to do is we're going to change this. When we have lele, the two L's together, we're going to change this to se lo. Yo se lo expliqué. I explained it to her. Okay? The se just becomes to her. It's a little confusing, I know, but we're going to have plenty of practice with it. We're going to work with this so that you guys get pretty good with it. I'm speaking to those that are in my class. If you're not in my class, you're going to have to find some practice, maybe search the web or something, look for it. So yo se lo expliqué. When we've got le and lo together, the first one goes to se. Let's do another. Let's go back to our sentence. He gave it to John. Él dio. He gave it. Well, again, let's do lo. We're talking about el libro. To John. Le. Same thing as before. Let me give you a second. What's our final sentence going to be? What are we going to put in the blanks? Okay, hopefully you saw the lo comes second, le comes first, except it changes to se. Él se lo dio. And a little side note, capital letters don't need an accent. I like to do them when they're handwritten. I always put accents. Él se lo dio. Okay, almost wrapping it up here. He will give it to them. Now we have to them. You remember what to them is? It's not los. That would be them. To them. Indirect object. Les. It. Let's make it feminine just for fun this time. Let's call it the chair. La silla. La silla is it, so that will be la. He will give. Él. Future tense. Dará. Okay, what's going to go in our blank here? Él se la dará. Punto. He will give it to them. Now, if you wanted to, se la dará a ellas, if you want to clarify who he's giving it to. Maria will send it to Anna. Okay, she will send. Mandará. Maria. Okay, Maria will send it to Ana. Okay, it, let's say that it is una carta. Va a mandar una carta, a letter. So, una carta, what will that be? That will be la. A Ana. Indirect. Le. So, Maria, what goes in the blank? Se la mandará. Okay, what if it was them, the letters? Las. Maria se las mandará. Maria will send them to her. To whom? Well, let's clarify. A Ana. Okay? I think I've got one more here for you. No, I don't. I got a conclusion. Going to give you a chance to go look this stuff up, work on it on your own. Go ahead, hit a website, Google direct, indirect object pronouns together. If you're in my class, do some of these worksheets and some of the conversation we'll be doing in class. But you guys, that's the nutshell of using direct and indirect object pronouns together. Good luck. Buena suerte.